Well, welcome to our Advent devotional for today. The name that we're looking at is Jesus is the King of Kings. Matthew writes, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." We'll be reading from this devotional here, and then I'll give a few thoughts afterwards as well. At both the beginning and the end of Jesus' physical life, Gentiles proclaimed his kingship. The wise men were the first non-Jews to seek out Jesus, and they came because the cosmos announced his birth in such a glorious manner that they concluded it must be for royalty. Acknowledging the crime for which Jesus was being crucified, Pilate, at the other end of his life, ordered that a placard be fastened to the cross that read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." The Jews themselves did not acknowledge Jesus as their king and wanted Pilate to change the sign, but he refused. Despite their refusal to recognize Jesus' kingship, Jesus is king. He came to rule what is rightfully his, both due to his lineage and his creation ownership. Matthew dedicates the first part of Jesus' narrative to his genealogy, carefully tracing his lineage to David's royal blood. Luke outlines Jesus' family tree all the way back to Adam, the Son of God. Perhaps the most fitting moment of worship in the New Testament is when Jesus entered Jerusalem, victoriously riding on a donkey. The crowds praising God and shouting, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest." That's from Luke 19:38. Although many in the crowd may not have understood that Jesus' kingdom is not of this world, such praise befits the King of Kings. And we who have the benefit of the entire New Testament narrative have ample reasons to bow our knees in praise and adoration. Jesus came first as a humble king, but he will return as a warrior king to claim what is rightfully his. John in Revelation tells us the present reality in heaven, quote, "On his robe and on his thigh he has this name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords." It's Revelation 19, verse 16. The King of Glory is not absent from his kingdom. He is patiently waiting the time when he will come again to establish his kingdom. We do not trifle with a weakling, nor do we worship in an incompetent wannabe rock star. We worship the King of Kings, who deserves all honor and glory and continually receives it from the heavens, from creation, angels, and from the chorus of his redeemed. Who is this King of glory? His name is Jesus. Well, that's a good word. I wanted to add a couple of comments here from the Bible. You know, one of the people in Scripture that learned that Jesus was indeed the King of Kings was King Nebuchadnezzar in the Old Testament. It's recorded in the book of Daniel. It's interesting because King Nebuchadnezzar was indeed likely the greatest king on earth in his day. And it's interesting that God undertook to teach him over the course of many years, through many various experiences, really to humble him so that he would acknowledge that even though Nebuchadnezzar was a great king and in many ways a king of kings on earth, there is only one king who rules over all kings, even great earthly kings. Nebuchadnezzar finally understood that and bowed his knees. And it's an interesting thing. You would think that the greatest king on earth, when he finally bows before the King of Kings, that might be some kind of soul-crushing disappointment. But actually we see just the opposite response. He writes a letter to everyone in his kingdom, which was an enormous kingdom. And let me just read you the few opening sentences. This is from Daniel 4, where Nebuchadnezzar writes, "At the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my reason returned to me, and I blessed the Most High, and praised and honored him who lives forever and ever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom endures from generation to generation." It's interesting that when this great earthly king finally bows before the King of Kings, it brings him great joy. It brings him great freedom. And that's a good word for us. As the writer says, this is the King of Kings, that Christ is the King of Kings, means he is not to be trifled with. And his judgment is sure. Yet at the same time, when we bow before him and make him our King, what we receive is great freedom and peace and joy.